I was lying in that cold hospital bed, stitches still burning across my chest, when I reached for my phone and typed into our family chat. "Who can pick me up from the hospital?" I stared at the screen, waiting for just a single word, a sign of care. Seconds later, my son replied, "Call a taxi. I'm watching TV." Before the sting could even fade, another bubble appeared. His wife. "Stay another month. It's so nice without you here." My heart, mended by surgeons, cracked again in silence. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just set the phone down. And that's when the storm inside me began. But that very night, when they turned on the evening news, they would see my face, and nothing in their world would ever be the same again. If you've ever felt the sting of family betrayal or been left behind by those you trusted most, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. My name is Robert, and for most of my life, I believed in the power of family. I raised my son Daniel with every ounce of love I had. I was there for every scraped knee, every heartbreak, every late-night call. When he married Claire, I welcomed her as my own, even co-signing their first mortgage and helping them buy their dream home. I thought we were a team, a family that stuck together, no matter what. But as the years passed, the warmth faded. My wife passed away, and suddenly I was just an extra chair at the table, a shadow in the house I'd built. Daniel and Claire started making decisions without me. My photos disappeared from the mantle, replaced by scented candles and trendy decorations. Still, I convinced myself it was just the way families change. Then came the heart attack. One cold December morning, I collapsed in my kitchen. The doctors said I was lucky to survive. Open heart surgery, weeks in recovery, and not once did Daniel or Claire visit. But I told myself, they're busy. They'll come when it matters. The day I was discharged, I texted our family chat. "Who can pick me up from the hospital?" Seconds later, Daniel replied, "Call a taxi. I'm watching TV." Claire chimed in, "Stay another month. It's so nice without you here." My heart, stitched together by surgeons, cracked again in silence. But what they didn't know was that their betrayal was about to set off a storm they couldn't control. Lying in that hospital bed, I felt more pain from their words than from the wires holding my chest together. I scrolled through our chat history, years of requests, favors, and money lent that was never repaid. I'd given everything, and now, when I needed them most, I was nothing but a burden. The nurse came in, cheerful, telling me I'd be strong enough to go home tomorrow. But what home? The house I'd signed over to Daniel, believing he'd raise his family there with dignity? The place where I was now unwelcome, erased from every memory. I called a taxi. The driver, a stranger, helped me more than my own blood. As we drove past the old neighborhood, every corner was a reminder of what I'd lost. I returned to a tiny apartment I'd rented after being encouraged to move out. Alone, I sat by the window, watching the city lights blur through tears. That night, as I sipped tea and stared at the hospital bracelet still on my wrist, I saw the evening news. There, in a segment about a local veterans charity, was my old friend Frank, a man I hadn't seen in years, now running a foundation for people like me. Suddenly, I realized I didn't have to be invisible. I didn't have to let Daniel and Claire erase me. But little did they know, I wasn't going to stay broken for long. The next morning, I made a decision. I would not let their betrayal define me. I pulled out an old leather notebook, a habit from my Navy days, and started writing down everything. The money I'd given, the property I'd signed over, the messages, the receipts. I made a folder, neat and organized, with every document that proved my stake in the house and my role in their lives. I called Frank. He remembered me instantly, his voice warm and steady. "You're not alone, Robert," he said. "Come down to the park. We're rebuilding a playground for veterans. We could use your hands and your story." That afternoon, I joined Frank and his team. For the first time in months, I felt useful. I sanded benches, hammered nails, and shared stories with people who understood what it meant to be left behind. The local news crew arrived to film the project. Frank nudged me forward. "Tell them why you're here," he said. I looked into the camera and spoke from the heart. Sometimes, the people you trust most forget your name. But you can always build something new even if you have to do it with strangers. And that's when I discovered the perfect way to ruin them. I knew Daniel and Claire had been intercepting my mail, forging my signature on HOA documents, and trying to erase my 10% interest in the house. But I had proof, and now I had allies. With Frank's help, I contacted the county recorder, the HOA, and the mortgage company. I filed duplicate notice requests, flagged every document, and demanded that any action on the property required my signature. I also filed a mail fraud complaint with the postal inspector, attaching evidence of the forged authorization. The notary board opened an investigation into the stamp Claire had used. Every move they made was now under a microscope. Meanwhile, the news segment aired. My face, my story, my name broadcast across the city. Suddenly, Daniel and Claire's phones exploded with calls. Neighbors, friends, even the HOA wanted to know why they'd abandoned a Navy veteran, their own father, after surgery. But when the day finally came, everything changed. The HOA meeting was packed. I arrived with my daughter Rebecca, Frank, and a pro bono lawyer from the Veterans Center. Daniel and Claire sat in the front, pale and nervous. The agenda: correcting the property ledger, addressing forged signatures, and enforcing bylaw recusal for conflicts of interest. I stood, calm and clear. My name was placed where my hand had not been. I want my 10% treated like 10%. My mail was delivered to my address. My voice is heard when decisions are made about a home I helped build. The board agreed. The ledger was corrected. The HOA fined Daniel and Claire for fraud, and the notary board opened a formal case. The mortgage company flagged the property, blocking any sale or refinance without my approval. The community saw them for who they were. But the story isn't over yet. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Claire's reputation crumbled. They lost their standing in the neighborhood, faced legal consequences, and were forced to answer for every lie. My daughter and I rebuilt our bond, and I found a new sense of purpose in helping other veterans fight back against family conflicts and toxic relationships. Justice was served. Karma did its work, and I learned that sometimes the best revenge is living well with your head held high. Tell me, do you think this revenge was fair, or did they deserve even worse? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more emotional storytelling, pro-revenge, and satisfying stories of justice served.